Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum. I once again feel like I'd like to make this video in response to President Obama's White House Correspondents' Dinner. As I listened to him speak, I was troubled a little bit. He spoke about, or he made jest, made light of, made joke of the Bundy Ranch situation in Nevada. And I'd like to ask President Obama, why would you feel to jest and make fun of a situation where you have Americans pointing guns at Americans? I don't understand that. Why would we joke about such a thing? And also I'd like to ask the question, why is it okay that they become labeled as terrorists? Under the NDAA Act, which you signed, a terrorist can be held with indefinite detention without trial. And these people have been labeled, I have been labeled, as a terrorist by Harry Reid more than once. And this week, the court case was just lost where the people of America had asked the government to at least define what a terrorist would be. What is the definition of a terrorist? And that case was lost. So now, a terrorist can be defined by anyone in the government who so decides that someone is a terrorist. Harry Reid has determined that we are terrorists. Does that mean, President Obama, that the Bundys, can now be picked up and held with indefinite detention? What do you think about that? You know, why would you call these people terrorists? Why, Harry Reid, would you call us terrorists? Let me explain some of the terrorists that were there, according to you. There's a young mother who rode with us from a cowboy family. Our families have known each other for generations. She's a fine mother. She works as a waitress during the day. She raises fine young children, and she rode. She didn't have a gun. So is she a terrorist? She works hard every day to feed her family. But now, with this joking, this jesting that you do, and that the labeling that Harry Reid does, we didn't come seeking out you. We didn't go to somebody else's place to create a disturbance, to cause a conflict. You came here. You came to the Bundy Ranch. You're the one that came and labeled. You're the one that came with the guns and with the agents. All they want to be, all we want to be, is left alone. We just want to raise our families, work, and enjoy our life. Enjoy the freedoms that this country offers. So I again question sincerely, why would you jest about such a thing? It makes no sense to me. Just my thoughts. I hope that those who are sincerely trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong in this case will consider the words that are being spoken by me and by others and weigh in their heart and try to determine what is right. Because there is no two right sides to a conflict. There can be two wrong sides, but there is never two right sides. And one last question, just as an aside, President Obama. How does it feel to finally be on the same side of an issue as going back? Just interesting. Thanks, and have a good day. And God bless all of you. Everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum, and it's been a while since I've made a video in my effort, my attempt to promote the cause of freedom. We've been gathering some cows. I had a colt come over on top of me and it's laid me up a little while. I'm back in the saddle now, and so I want to continue my effort in trying to explain what
what freedom is and what freedom isn't. And so I want to talk briefly about the case Wickard versus Filburn. That was a Supreme Court case that extended greatly the power of the federal government using the Commerce Clause. I believe it's Section 1, Article 8 of the Constitution, which means that the government has the right to keep commerce regular amongst the states, not to regulate all the aspects of commerce. But the case was that this farmer, Filburn, Roscoe Filburn, was growing wheat on his own farm for his own consumption. Wasn't going to go into the economy. Wasn't going to be sold across state lines. It was to be used with his own farm, on his own farm, for his own animals, for his own consumption. Well, Wickard, Secretary of Agriculture, brought the case, and it was Wickard versus Filburn. And the Supreme Court decided that the federal government does indeed have the right to tell a farmer what he can farm on his own property for his own consumption. Now, anyone knows that that's not freedom. Here's a case where the Supreme Court violated a person's natural right, his opportunity to have right and control over his own property. And they've used that breach of freedom to begin to now regulate almost every aspect of our lives. The Commerce Clause. Oh, if it's commerce, we can regulate it. And they do. And that's not freedom. And I appreciate Roscoe Filburn making the fight, but I wonder what would have happened if Roscoe Filburn would have said after the Supreme Court ruled against him, saying you cannot farm what you want to farm on your own land. If he would have said, like Clive and Bundy, I don't think so. I think the farm is mine. I think I'll farm it the way I see fit. And had he took that stand, maybe we could have rolled back the power of the federal government where they used the Commerce Clause against us. You know, at some point, you have to say that my freedom is worth more than my life. That I don't care. I know what natural rights are mine. They don't come to me from the government. They come to me from birth. They're natural to me, to my being. They come from me, from nature's God. And he says, I'm sorry, you may take me out in a body bag, but you won't stop me from growing the wheat on my own farm for my own consumption. Had he drawn a hard line then, maybe we wouldn't be where we're at now. I'm glad that there are people starting to draw a hard line. They're beginning to value their freedom more than their life. And it is the citizens of this country, the average citizen, that's going to save our freedom. Politicians are not going to save our freedom. They talk a good talk, and they don't walk the walk. When the Republicans control all three branches of the government, the size and scope of government marches on. When the Democrats control all three branches of the government, the size and scope of government marches on. By their works, by what they do, it's who they are. They're on the same side. They play a little game for our consumption, saying that one is going to protect freedom and the other one's going to help out the downtrodden. And in the meantime, freedom continues to be taken away from us. I just want to say that I think it's time that those who love freedom begin to draw a hard line. That they begin to love freedom even more than they love their life. Those who gave us this freedom loved it more than they loved their life. They gave us a great gift. Put our lives in order. Make things square with our family. Make things square with our God. Get things straight in our lives so that when you have to, in your own little realm, in your own little sphere, draw a hard line saying, no, I'm not going to. It's my right. They come to me. If you can stand, draw a line. Hope you'll begin to do this. I'm going to, again, once or twice a week, try to talk about an issue and make them relevant to the day, what we're dealing with. I'm here on my ranch, working my cows. This week, we had a drone go over us. What the heck is that? Why do you have to run a drone over us and take a look at what we're doing while we're out here working? We're not hurting anybody. We're not causing anybody problems. What you do and looking down our backs. But things are changing. America, please. Those of you who love freedom, stand up. And this is Lavoy again, making my little voice heard, my little voice, my little stand for freedom. Stand, America. Have a good day. Hello, everyone. This is Lavoy Finicum. Again, one cowboy, stand for freedom. I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about energy. You know, man is free to the degree that he's self-reliant and independent, and that holds true for our country. Our country is at risk when we are not self-reliant and independent. So I want to talk just a little bit about energy for our country. If you look at this country behind me, I'm here on my ranch. This land covers area about the size of some European nations. It's large, and mostly sagebrush, cedar trees, pinyon, and it's wide, it's vast. And you might not realize it, but there's a great amount of wealth upon this land here. A vast amount of wealth, and it's in the uranium and in other aspects. When I was a youth, in my early 20s, I worked on a wildcat rig, a drilling rig, on some of the first uranium test holes that they ran out here, Hacks Canyon. I was a drill hand on one of the two rigs that drilled down to, that found those great lodes there in the Hacks Canyon. Let me tell you just a little bit about that ore, that uranium ore there. That uranium ore is some of the richest in the world. It's found in breccia pipes. They're in small concentrated areas. When we drilled down into that breccia pipe, and they went and put the probe down from the probe truck or van, it was so rich, it was so hot, that they had to take the vans back and recalibrate the probes so that they could get an accurate reading. Extremely rich uranium, and this country is filled with it. And it's not a strip mine that you get it with. It's not open pit mines. These are subterranean mines that go down in, mine out these breccia pockets, these breccia pipes. And easy to reclaim, doesn't cause damage to the environment. But we've been shut down. Our country has been shut down, and so we get our uranium, a lot of our uranium from abroad, from Canada, from other nations. And so you need to understand that right here on this area, this ranch, there is a vast amount of wealth, and it's tied up. It's shut down. It's kept from our country. Ken Salazar, under Barack Obama and his administration, was instrumental in shutting down any more mines. There's a couple of mines that are continuing to operate, but once they're done, no more mines. All these claims that have been laid out here, all this great high-grade uranium is kept offline. So you ask yourself, why? Why do they shut this down? Why do they close this off? It makes us more vulnerable for our power, outside influences. Why do they shut down the Keystone Pipeline? Why are they shutting down the shale, the great oil shale that we have in Utah? And they're trying to shut down the fracking. We have so much resources in our country for producing our own energy, yet the powers that be, those that weigh and hold the power, those in government, federal government, are basically puppets for these great powers. Why do they shut it down? Why are we dependent upon countries who do not have our best interests at heart? Yeah, I just wanted to bring this up, that things don't make sense. Our ability to be self-reliant and independent is here in our own country. We can do it, but they shut us off from it. We are dependent upon those who really don't like us. Have to ask yourself why. Just some thoughts for today. Again, you really ought to be self-reliant and independent yourself. Don't believe them when they say all is going to be well. Might be well, 10 months, 10 years. Don't know. But it's not going to last. Our national debt, 18 trillion. Put that in perspective. What does 18 trillion mean? It means the wealth of this nation. It takes the annual wealth of this entire nation to make 18 trillion, 17 trillion. And we have our unfunded liabilities, 95 to 100 trillion. Those are things that we have promised to pay that we have not funded. We don't have the means to pay it. 100 trillion? Let me put that in perspective. That's the wealth of the entire world. They keep telling you all's well, all's going to be well. You better not believe them. You better not believe them. Again, with energy, why is it that we're not going to do anything with Ukraine and Russia taking Ukraine? It's because Russia, all of our oil contracts in the world are supposed to be satisfied in dollars. So Europe has to purchase dollars to buy oil from Russia. All that Russia needs to do is, if we start pushing too hard, is say, you know what, Europe, you can buy our oil in anything. You can buy it in euro, you can buy it in ruble, you can buy it in gold. And that would threaten our dollar. Our dollar is only held up by confidence. Once that confidence is gone, we're in trouble as a country. Just some thoughts to think about. If we push this thing, it can go to war. But we're over a barrel, figuratively speaking, because Russia just has to say, I'll sell my gold or my oil in anything. And then that dollar becomes really weakened. And once that dollar starts to lose confidence on the world stage, then you better be prepared as an individual. Again, I'm calling upon you Americans, those of you that love freedom, please stand by our Constitution. Rally to it. It's the standard for us to stand by. We can do this. It is the standard. Hold it. It's being shredded right now. Let's rally to it. Let's repair it. Let's hold it up in its original intent. Again, everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum, wishing you a good day. Hello, everyone. This is Lavoy Finicum with One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. It's September 2014. I'm out here on my ranch. It's great out here. The rains have come this summer. The grass is tall. It's still green. My cows are fat. My water tanks are full. Just feeling really grateful for all the blessings that I'm enjoying right now. Love being out here. Don't have a cell phone. It's peaceful. Yeah, you know, I feel like when I'm out here that all's well, all's right, nothing's wrong, no worries, and I love this life out here. But it doesn't take too much to see that dark storm clouds are gathering, and we really need to open our eyes if they're not already open. We need to take care of those we love. We need to have our houses in order. We need to have our relationships in order. We never know how many days we have upon God's green earth here, and we need to make the best of each and every one of them. But about those storm clouds that are gathering, it's easy to see that our government has eviscerated the Constitution. They are a lawless government, unwilling to be governed by the supreme law of the land, by the laws that we, the people, placed upon them. And so what do we do? This thing isn't going to be solved legislatively. It's too far gone. There's too few politicians with real conviction, with real courage. The establishment is too firmly entrenched. We're not going to turn this thing around legislatively. The judiciary is in large measure corrupt too, insofar as they are unwilling to adjudicate on the simple Constitution. And you look at the executive branch, it is just amassing power unto itself, governing by dictate, by fiat, and by executive order, completely outside of the powers that we the people gave them. So what do we do? And as I pondered on this, I wondered, where is the right and the wrong? Where is that line where it's wrong and where it's right in resisting this? And I come across some words by a man that I respect a lot by the name of Ezra Taft Benson. And he asked that question. He said, is it morally right to resist tyranny? And then he answers his own question by saying, I believe, or he said, with all the fervor of my soul, I believe that God intended man to be free. And then he went on to say that rebellion against tyranny is a righteous cause. So there you have it. That's exactly how I feel. It's good to read and hear other people that feel the same way. He went on to say that the fight for freedom is God's fight. So when a man stands for freedom, he stands with God. And as long as he stands for freedom, he stands with God. And even if he stands alone, he still stands with God. A man will be eternally vindicated and rewarded for his stand for freedom. So, the way I do the math, I think there's about 50 million Americans out there that love freedom as much as I do. They're willing to put their lives on the line, their fortunes, their sacred honor, as our founding fathers did in the beginning, because the conflict that's building, the storm clouds that are gathering, are over this very same issue. Will man be free, or must he be coerced? And me, for one, I'm going to live my remaining days as a free man. Maybe long, maybe short. But I'm going to live as a free man. And so, what about you? My appeal is to you, 50 million. Those of you that are making the good fight, that are standing for freedom. And I believe we still should fight through the legislative avenue, through the judiciary avenue, through the legal avenue. I think we still should make those efforts wherever we can. But we know when our natural rights are being violated, when we are being trampled upon. And it's time for us to say, no, no more. Now, if your rights are being trampled on, if your property rights are being violated, I'll come and stand with you. You can reach me on Facebook, Lavoy Finicum, or at my email, lavoyfinicum@yahoo.com. I'll stand. You know, there's 50 million of us, I know. There's 50 million that's willing to stand and pull together and say, no, leave him alone. Leave his property alone. You know, no aggression, no hate, but willing to stand, willing to defend. And by all means necessary, to say, leave us alone. Don't bother us. Let us raise our families. Let us enjoy this land upon which we live. Let us be free to make our own choices. It's a great land. It's a great country. I'm going to live as a free man. I invite you to stand up, defend the Constitution, the rights that are guarded by this document. Stand for freedom. Stand for the Constitution. Have a good day, everyone. This is Lavoy Finicum. One Cowboy, stand for freedom. See you later. Hello, everyone. This is Lavoy Finicum. One Cowboy, stand for freedom. Kind of part 2 here. What I wanted to talk about a little bit was, again, about some of these public land issues. Here it is. I have in my hand a Desert News newspaper and the Salt Lake Tribune, September 18th, 2014. The top article reads here, public land issues concern Utahns. Protest ATV ride results in charges against commissioner. This one here says, Fed charges canyon ride leaders for recapture canyon. After the Bundy standoff, some of these people up in Utah were really concerned that the overreach of the government, where they shut down Recapture Canyon that had been a road and a right-of-way for ever since the pioneers moved in, and a bureaucrat decided it needed to be shut down, and they didn't want they, for 7 years, I believe it was, that they've have been trying to get that the right-of-way permit to go through, and they're just sitting on it. Finally, they says, well, we're going to ride here in protest of what you're doing. Well, after the BLM was embarrassed over at Bundy Ranch, they didn't make any arrests. They just kind of sat, took names, and waited and watched. Now they're charging them. They're going to make somebody an example to show that you better not get out of line. Stay in line. Don't think you can do this, break the laws with impunity. Let me read here what it says. It says, page 4, says, Charlie Christensen, one of the, this is part of the bureaucracy that is unelected. He says that we respect the fact that citizens of this state have differing and deeply held views regarding the management and use of Recapture Canyon, and recognize that they have a right to express these opinions freely. It says, but when individuals violate the laws rather than engage in lawful protest, we will seek to hold these individuals accountable, she said. So here they are, lecturing about obeying the law when they themselves won't be governed by the law. Let me just go back a little bit and explain a little bit about how this BLM came into being. These states, as they became states, the lands were to be seceded back to the states once they moved from territory to state. Well, they quit doing that, or doing it very slowly. And finally, in 1936, they passed what was called the Taylor Grazing Act. And that's just by simple majority vote. And they created this, the beginning of the BLM, where they then say in the act that we now permit you, people on these lands, we permit you to be here, and every 10 years we'll reconsider if we want you here, and in fact, anytime within that 10-year period of time, we may change our mind. Well, we as the people of the United States never gave the federal government the authority to permit them to do this. They didn't have the right to permit or to take away. They were supposed to give those lands back. And then they were continuing to do it at an ever increasingly slow pace until in the 70s when they completely quit. And they just decided to hang on to these lands. 80% of Nevada, 70% of Arizona, 80% of Utah. And so they hold all these lands and they tie up all the wealth in it. And so that's the law. That's the law. Who is the legal and who's the illegal? That just because we function within this bureaucracy does not make it a legal entity. And you need to be clear on that line. It's time to put this dragon back into the box that was created for it in the beginning. Because it's out of its box and it's rampaging. It knows no bounds. And again, there's good people in it. But it's illegal. It's illegitimate. And this is Lavoy Finicum, again, for One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. Thanks. Hello, everyone. This is Lavoy Finicum with One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. I want to talk just a little bit today about what freedom is, what freedom isn't. Sometimes we as good people, violate the principles of freedom by trying to be good or compassionate. For example, when it comes to maybe drinking and smoking, where we can smoke, where we can't smoke. I've never had a cigarette. I don't know what a cigarette tastes like. I've never had a cold one. I don't know what a beer tastes like. But who am I to tell somebody else that he can or can't smoke? Who made me Lord and Master over another man? Is his body his? Is my body mine? If he wants to smoke and treat his body that way, I should respect it. It's his body. And so if a man takes and builds a restaurant with his own money, his own risk, and he decides he'd like to allow smoking to be in that restaurant, who are we as a people to go to that man who's made the effort with his own money, his own effort, his own risk, to say, you cannot have smoking in this building? If it's freedom, he should be free to do that. And all the people who like to smoke can go to that restaurant and get something to eat. And if those of us who don't like to smoke, we could go to a restaurant that doesn't allow smoking, and we can enjoy that. And those of us who really don't care one way or the other, we could go to both restaurants. And we could all be free. We could respect another man and his person and property. And his body is his, my body's mine, his property is his, my property is mine. If you don't break my leg, no pick my pocket, it's not my business. And that's kind of what I think. That's where we should be as a people. Let free enterprise and freedom reign in this earth, in this country as it used to, and let us deal with the consequences of it. I smoke, I get cancer, well, that's my problem. Just don't ask me to pay for your problem of fixing your cancer. And I won't ask you to do is to take care of my health problems when I have them. And that's my responsibility. It's not yours. It's not society. It's an individual responsibility. They're individual bodies. They're ours. They're not the government. We don't need somebody telling us what we should or shouldn't do with them. As long as we're not hurting another person, taking another person's property, then how about we just leave each other alone? And that's just a thought for today. And I'll leave that with you. And this again is Lavoy Finicum with One Cowboy Stand for Freedom.
Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum at One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. I wanted to talk just briefly about independence and self-reliant. To the degree that us as individuals are dependent upon any government agency or government, federal government, state government, or local government for our food, our water, our shelter, to that degree, we're not free. And so it would be a wise thing, I would suppose, to be able to have the means to provide your own food, shelter, and water for at least a year. There's a great comfort that comes when we're prepared, when we know that we've got enough for a rainy day, we've got enough for food, for our family, water, shelter. There's a real peace of mind that comes with that. And so I want to talk briefly about that. A lot of times we think, man, a year's supply of food, that costs a lot of money, and where would I put that much stuff? I don't have the room, I don't have the money. Well, let me dispel just a little bit about the myths about the cost and the space for that. Right here, I'm sitting on a year's supply of food, right here. It's not that much stuff. If you use these number 10 cans right here, put them in these boxes, 6 go in a box here, slide right under a bed, you can put a year's supply of food for 2 people under a queen bed. And so you've got the room, you've got the space. It's a matter of priority. You clean out what's under your bed. Put something of value under it. For cost, let me just go over a little bit of the cost. I buy this stuff in bulk, and it's not that expensive. For example, got 300 pounds of wheat here. Only cost me $75. 100 pounds of rice, $40. 100 pounds of beans, $60. 100 pounds of rolled oats, $45.
30 pounds of all vegetable shortening, $25. 50 pounds of sugar, $25. 50 pounds of potato flakes, $50. Comes up to $320. $320 for a year's supply of food. You easily can live upon what I just listed here for a year. Not a lot of variety. You're going to get tired of it, but you're going to keep body and soul together. And and everything here has except for my liquid shortening here is my shorter shelf life. I've used this up to 6 years when I keep it in a cool, dry place. Cooks fine, bakes fine, fries fine, but keep it all vegetable. Don't put any lard in it. All vegetable shortening. 30 pounds here, $25 at Costco. That's my shorter shelf life, 6 years. My next shorter shelf life is I didn't figure that in here, but it would be my powdered milk. And that's a 20-year shelf life. But the rest of this stuff I'm sitting on, 30-year shelf life. Under $400, you've got a year's supply of food. $320 of all the things I listed here. No reason why we shouldn't have that. Get it, put it up, put it away, don't worry about it. Great peace of mind. Prepare for a rainy day. Prepare for when things might not be as rosy as they are right now. This Ebola thing, everybody's got a little worried about it. I don't think it's really going to, blow too much out of proportion here. Could, but I don't think it is. But something will. Sooner or later, something will cause us great distress in this nation. Take the time to be self-reliant, prepared. You can fight for freedom better when you're prepared yourself. Well, just a few thoughts for today. Hope you all have a good evening, and wishing you well. This is Lavoy Finicum at One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. Thanks.
Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum. It's been a while since I've made a video, but I think it's time I made another one. I'm here at my White Springs. This is my only live water on my ranch. And this is my storage tank here for it. I purchased this with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It's mine, I own it. It's private property. The tank holds 100,000 gallons of water. Now, that spring, that water in this tank, it's mine, I own it. And there's been a few fires here in the area. And Bill M came in here, set up a tank, and they drained it. They took it, just about every bit of it, to use for their own fires to put them out. And without so much as a hidey-ho or to please or we're going to use it, they just set up and they took it. I don't care if they take half of it and take 50,000 gallons of it. They can't take 100,000 gallons of it. It's mine. It's for my cows. I need it. And they didn't pay for it. They didn't ask for it. They just took it. They stole it. And it's not okay. They got tankers. And they got all sorts of choppers. They can just drop in buckets in the river over there. The Colorado River's only a few miles over there. And me, all I've got is a flatbed that can hold 900 gallons of water. It takes me an hour and a half to 2 hours through rough roads to get water out here. It takes me over 100 days just to haul water out here to make up for what they've taken. And, it takes over 200 days just to fill this dang tank. They just stole it. It's not okay. I'm telling them, here, I'm going to post this and tell them to knock it off. They take more than half, they better come and ask me. Quit stealing. It's not theirs. I'm going to let the Mojave County Sheriff, Jim McCaleb, know that they're stealing my water. They need to stop it. It'd be really nice if they'd take one of those tankers and come out here and fill it up, replace it. Or how about they just leave it alone? Anyway, this is Lavoy Finicum. On my ranch, my water, telling the Bill M to quit stealing my stuff. Catch you later. Bye. Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum, One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. This is a very important video that I'm making. I'm hoping that you can have a little bit of patience as I try to do a little bit of educating. I'm calling this part 1, Lavoy versus BLM. I'm here on my ranch and it's beautiful out here. And it's time that we do something more than just talk about freedom and about defending our Constitution. So I want to educate, I want to teach, I want to let you know what I'm personally doing to defend our Constitution. First off, I'm going to just pan here and show you what this pasture is. This is just one of my pastures on my ranch. I don't know how many acres are here, 3,000-4,000 acres in this particular pasture. In 6 years, I've never grazed this pasture off. This is the first year that I'm turning out on this pasture. And that's going to be significant, and I'll explain why. But first, I'm just going to pan and show you this pasture. Okay, as you look around, this is my reservoir. Call this my Upper Kent pasture. A few of my cows sitting on the reservoir. And the range goes to those tree lines, those mountains over there, and it continues to go down to those tree lines that way. Looking south, goes to those tree lines there, and then from there, this pasture goes to that mountain right there. My ranch also goes up on top of that mountain, but this particular pasture is just this valley here. And daughter, come back over here. And this is the best part of my ranch. This is my daughter, Catrielle. She's my second to the youngest, and she helps me with all of this with the rest of my family. But my pasture goes up that way several miles. Again, a lot of acreage here. Never have grazed this off in 6 years. If you look, see the grass? Look how thick it is. Look how green it is. And we're in late summer. And so this is my pasture here, and this is part of my ranch. This grass, I own it. It's called my grazing rights, my forage rights. And these cows are fat and sassy and looking good. And got a few more of my cows down under some trees down there. I'm not very good with technology, but they're down there. So let me move forward here. Put this back down. Hope you can see me. This is my dog over here, Diamond Hill. Great cow dog. She's pregnant right now. Going to be her last litter. She's getting a little old, kind of like me. A year ago, she and I both got laid up. She got stepped on by a bull, and bull got her and broke all the bones in her back leg, and so she's never really been quite the same, but she loves being out here with me and my family and the cows. She loves it out here. I had a colt come over on top of me about the same time, and we were both feeling kind of old and broken up for a while, but it's good out here. Life's good out here. Now the reason I'm making the video, and this isn't about cows, this isn't about grass, it's not even about my dog, but it is about my family, and it is about freedom, and it is about the Constitution. I've never been crosswise with BLM in all the years that I've owned my ranch here. Never had a trespass filed against me. I've never been over what they call the AUMs, which means how many cows I should run. Like I said, I've never run for 6 years in this very pasture here. The point is, they claim that this is theirs. And I claim that the forage right, the grass, is mine. And so let's go to the Constitution, our supreme law of the land. And this is the point, this is the rub, and this is the focus. In Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. And let me start by going back and laying down the intent of our founding fathers and the intent of the Constitution. Our founding fathers came out of tyranny. And they were really concerned that this land be a land of freedom. So they did several things. One of the first things they did when they laid out the Constitution was they divided the powers into three branches. And we all know what those are: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. So we have three branches of power. So they separated those. And the other thing they did to keep from having a centralization of power into a central government, which increases or decreases the freedom of the individual, is that they limited the amount of landmass that this central power could control, called the federal government. Because if you can control the land, you can control the food production, you can control the people. Now, currently, the BLM, or the federal government, lays claim to 1/3 of the landmass of the United States. Put that in perspective. You've got to put together the country of Germany, and you must combine it with the country of France. Then you better put in Italy, Spain, throw in Portugal, and then throw in Britain. You got to start throwing all those countries together to begin to get them close to the comparison of the landmass that the federal government owns, say that they own and control. Now, and in this landmass, they claim to have what's called exclusive legislative ability. And what they have done, they have combined all three branches of power. And I'll explain that. You have bureaucrats that sit behind desks, and they will write a statute or a regulation, and it has the effect of law, and then they implement that. And now that regulation is enforced by federal rangers who are armed, and they can enforce it. They're empowered to enforce it by lethal means if necessary. If a person gets crosswise with one of these statutes, they're then hauled into a federal court and tried by a federal judge. All three branches of power combined under one head. Now, none of these people, do we the people here over whom this is imposed upon, have the power of recall. In other words, we don't elect them. They are not accountable to us. And so our founding fathers knew that was a potential of combining great power under one head. So they limited, by the letter of the law, what land that the federal government could control. And it's found in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Let me read it to you. I've shared this before, but let me read it to you again. It says, referring to the federal government, it says, to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever in such districts not to exceed 10 square miles as may by secession of a particular state and the acceptance of Congress. What is that 10 square miles? Well, that's Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., the seat of the federal government. That's proper and that's appropriate. They go on. It says, to become the seat of the government of the United States and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be for the erections of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other such needful buildings. Okay. They limit the federal government to purchase only those lands needful for the defense of our country. Docks, arsenals, forts, and other such needful buildings. And not only that, they can't take it by eminent domain. They must ask the state legislatures if they can purchase it from them. So in this very clause here, by that very sentence there, it acknowledges that the states are the owners of the land. And what happened was that in the beginning, these states, there's one other place that the federal government can exercise control over in landmass, and that's territories. And that's appropriate. It's in the Constitution. They have that right. And so when a territory was to be admitted to the Union, they were to come in on equal footing as the original 13 colonies. And so they were not to be less than. And so at the moment, at the time of statehood, those lands were to be disposed of to the people of that state. And if you look on a map, you can see that that procedure was followed until you start getting out here west. And as time lapsed, as governments are wont to do, they like to hold on to power, hold on to wealth. And so they became slower and slower at disposing this land to the people as they are supposed to do. Until, at such point, they almost quit. And then they did. And then they says, you know what? This land is ours. And they said that we own it. And let me give you a little history on this. I hope you'll follow along with me a little bit here, because it's important to understand this. And it's important to understand so that you can understand who is lawful and who is unlawful. Well, let's actually go to what I'm particularly involved in here, and it's called grazing rights. Now, grazing right is a right that is established by prior appropriation. It is a natural right, and preemptive or prior appropriation is the legal term, and that's how property rights are established, and it's called common law or natural law. For example, I explain this to people to help them to understand this. We understand rights when we look at lines. See, rights are not granted by the government, but a person claims right. There's three things to establish a property right. The first thing is you must claim it. The second thing is you must use it. And the third thing is you must defend it. And I'll do a quick analogy so you can get the gist of this. Okay. We all know about lines. We stand at lines at the grocery store. We stand at lines at the DMV. We stand in lines at the movie theater. Okay. When you stand in line, you create a right. It's self-evident. That's where our founding fathers meant. Certain rights are self-evident. In other words, I'm the first from the line at theater. I have established that by prior appropriation. And so that is claimed. I claimed it. And as long as I stand there, I'm using it. I'm not giving it up. And so I'm using it. So I claim it. I use it. Now the third thing is I must defend it. Well, let's go back to use it. I cannot, after I make this claim, walk away because it's taking too long, and I go get a hamburger and a drink, and then come back and the line is really long and say, hey, I'm first in line. No, what happened? I lost that right because I didn't use it. Okay. Now, suppose I'm sitting there first in line, and the line is long, and in comes a bigger feller, and he says, man, that line is too long. And so he steps in front of me, and I can do one or two things. I can mumble and complain and step back, and in such case, I have given up my right. Or I can defend that right. Those are the two things. Well, what has happened? The federal government has come in and started claiming it. We have been here prior to the BLM being formed. These grazing rights were established. And I'll explain it to you. This particular grazing right here that we're sitting on, all this green grass, all this acreage here. Okay, I bought this grazing right from the ranching family by the name of Ballards. Ballards bought it from the ranching family called the Heatons. Okay, the Heatons were some of the first settlers in this country here. There's nobody grazing out here. There wasn't Indians out here grazing on this. There was nobody grazing here. They come out here and they create a reservoir, or they take a spring, they come with a little herd, and they say, you know what? Man, there's good grass, I got some water. I am going to claim this as my forage right, my grazing right. And so they did, and they used it. And then in would come another rancher with some herds, and they'd make them a reservoir over here, or develop a spring over there, and they would run. And sometimes we ran in common. You know, we'd have good waters, and they say, okay, I'm going to run 100 head, you run 100 head, and it's called running in common. And, you know, eventually as time passed, we put fence lines on all the borders of these grazing rights. And when we had conflict, the bigger guy come in and says, you know what, I know you're here first, but I'm tough, and I I'm going to take. And so sometimes we fought and we shot each other over these grazing rights. Down in the central Arizona, there's a big old basin as you drop off the Mogollon Rim called the Bloody Basin. So we established things through blood, sweat, and tears. These grazing rights are natural rights. They exist sole and separate from any written law. The Constitution doesn't even give us these rights. We have the Constitution because we have these rights. And so here we are, sitting on these grazing rights, ranching it, and along comes the BLM, 1935, 1936, around there, and they look around and they say, you know what, we now passed the Taylor Grazing Act, and all these grazing rights now belong to us. And we have exclusive legislative ability over all these grazing rights. And we will now permit you to graze on these. Here we're going to give you a permit. And we will re-examine every 10 years if we want you here. And in fact, anytime in between those 10 years, if we don't want you here, and we'll change it anytime we want, anytime we choose, through our wisdom and our prerogative. And, you know, as ranchers, we kind of got bullied. We were negligent. We were uninformed. And as they grew, and they came in very softly, very kindly, very nice to help. They didn't come in with a heavy hand. The government never does when they come to take our freedoms. It's always to help us, always to take care of us. And they come in softly. Well, that's what they did. And they continue to move forward. And so now they're claiming that this is all theirs. And so 1/3 of the land mass, they claim that they have exclusive legislative power over. No representation. That is not America. That is not in the intent of our Constitution, and it is not in the letter of the law. So this is the question. Who is the lawbreaker and who is the law abider? You know, I stood with Cliven Bundy, my friend, and his family, in helping them get their cows back over this very issue. And, you know, I've never been one to try to cause problems. I didn't get in trouble in school. I always raised my hand. I always stood in line. To this day, I do not have a speeding ticket yet. So it's not in my nature to go out and poke my finger in people's eyes. But there's a time when we need to come and stand up for the Constitution. It is being eviscerated. It is eviscerated. We have lost it. Where does it exist? It only exists in the hearts of about 50 million Americans that understand it and have the fire of freedom burning in their breast, who's willing to stand up. And so many people, you know, good people, what can we do? We've been voting, we've been donating money, and the candidates always promise to stand up for freedom. Well, what did we do? We gave the Republican Party the House and the Senate. What have they done? Nothing. And you think we're going to give them a Republican president and they're going to stand up on the Constitution and they're going to require the federal government to live within the frameworks that we the people have given them, namely the Constitution? It's not going to happen. But this is where it will happen, because this Constitution will be saved. The principles vouchsafed herein will prevail. And this is me doing my little part. So what I've done, I sent a letter to the BLM saying thank you so much for your help in managing my ranch, but I shall no longer need your help. I shall manage it myself. And so I will no longer pay them the mandatory fees, nor sign the mandatory terms and conditions, because they're illegal, illegitimate. It's not theirs. I didn't buy it from them. I bought it from the Ballards from the Heatons. Heatons established it. Okay, it's not theirs. It never was theirs. They're forbidden from having it. Okay, so let's make that clear. The first thing, if you're going to stand for freedom, you better figure out where the line is. Who's legal? Who's lawful? Now, this is the first time that I am going crosswise with the BLM. I've told them that this grazing right is mine. For 6 years, I've not been able to graze off this green pasture, 3,000-4,000 acres. It might even be more than that. I don't even know. And so now I've got water in my reservoir. My My cows need some pasture. And they say, well, you can't turn in here. We've got a regulation on a piece of paper. You, Lavoy Finicum, cannot turn in here on this grass. We don't care that you've not grazed this off in 6 years. But we have on this regulation, on this piece of paper, that you cannot turn in here until October 15th. Well, by October 15th, my water in this reservoir may be dry. It probably will be dry. Then how will I graze off all this grass that is mine, that I pay for, that I fight every year to make my mortgage payment on? Everything I have is tied up into this. My home, my life. I spent my lifetime trying to obtain a ranch, to live like, you know, I loved as a young boy riding with my dad, chasing some cows on the weekend and stuff. And I always wanted to raise my family out here and raise them like this. So I'm putting everything on the line. My home, my dreams, my ranch. But I'm telling the BLM right now, I'm saying to you, this isn't yours. It's mine. Leave me alone. I'm bringing in my few measly little cows, and while I've got water in this reservoir, I'm grazing it off. Well, I was very kind and polite as I talked to them, sent them a very cordial letter, and so I get a call last week. Lavoy, you going to turn in there? I saw some cows there. Yes, Mr. Range Con, I told you that I'm not recognizing you as the owner of the land. I didn't buy it from you. I'm not paying you. You know, it's not yours. My mortgage isn't to you, BLM. And so, and I didn't buy it from you. I bought it from the Ballards. It never was yours. And so, yes, Mr. Rangecon, I'm turning in my cows here. It's grass. It's green. I'm turning in. It is August, middle August. So I'm August, September. I'm turning in about 8-9 weeks early. So we're going to have to trespass you. We're going to have to start documenting. I got to make this. I got to account to my supervisors. I understand that. Go ahead and do what you want. This isn't anything personal against you. It's just not yours. It's mine. So here I am. I'm beginning to document me as this individual standing for the Constitution. Now, there's a lot of talking, a lot of poking holes in the air with the fingers, and very little doing when it comes to standing for our Constitution. Oh, if we'll just donate to the right candidate, if we'll just donate more to the Republican Party, or we'll get a Republican there in the White House, and surely, it's going to all be better. That's crazy. That's crazy. Washington is not going to vote away power. For 100 years, it's taken 100 years to gather in this landmass and to seal it down. They have complete control over it. 1/3 of our country, America. 1/3 of our country. And these federal rangers that run around here, they're armed. Military style. They got their M4s. They got their tac vests. They got their bulletproof vest. You know, you saw them down there at Bundyville or Bunkerville. You saw them pointing their guns at us. They promised to shoot us. Dan Love, you're one of the head of them. You're the point of the spear. You're the enforcement arm of this. You know, you're not a good guy. No way you're a good guy. Nowhere do you have authority to run around here with policing powers. Nowhere do we the people give you authority by force, by lethal means if necessary, to enforce these regulations on these pieces of paper. You know, what are you going to do, Dan? You and the FBI? There's my few little cows right down there under that tree there. You going to come in here like you did with my friend Cliven and say, we're taking these out and you better not get in our way? Well, I'm telling you, leave me alone. Leave me alone, leave Cliven alone. There's some tough ranching families up there in Utah. Stanton Gleaves by name. Now you have 3, Mr. Federal Government, that's willing to stand for the Constitution. It's the ancient law of witnesses. You have a witness in Nevada, Cliven Bundy. You have a witness in Arizona, Lavoy Finicum. And you have a witness in Utah, Stanton Gleaves. We have 3 ranchers that are going to stand and defy you. It's not yours. And, you know, breaking the law right now just by saying this. Just by saying this, it's what's called conspiracy to commit crime. And that's what you guys hauled that county commissioner into court with, Phil Lyman, and you convicted him. And he's going to face a year in prison possibly, and $100,000 to $300,000 in fines because of this very thing that I am saying right now. I don't care. You know, if you go to the Bible, there's actually a story I really love. You might be familiar with it. It's called the captives that were in Babylon by the name of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Three. Anyway, the greatest force upon the face of the earth at that time was the Babylonian Empire. Nebuchadnezzar, the most powerful man in the world. And anyway, he knows Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they're out there and they make a golden image, and they command everybody to fall down and worship the golden image. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they don't fall down. They don't worship. And Nebuchadnezzar gets a little upset, but he knows them. He calls them up there and says, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, if you'll just sign these mandatory terms and conditions and pay your grazing fees, it's going to be okay. We can work, you know, and the music will play again. You just fall down, worship the golden image, and it will be okay. And I love the response. He says, because, Nebuchadnezzar goes on, says, because who can save you? Because if you don't, I will throw you in the fiery furnace. And what God can save you from the fiery furnace? And I love the answer. It's great. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replies, says, O king, we are not careful to answer thee. In other words, saying, you know, we're not going to measure our words. We're not going to be tepid. We're not going to be timid. You know, they're speaking to the greatest power in the world this time, these three captives should say. O king, we're not careful to answer thee. Our God whom we serve will deliver us. But if not, be it known unto thee, we will not sign those mandatory terms and conditions. We will not pay those grazing fees. And he will save us. And if not, so be it. But we will not bow. We will not comply. We will not bend. America, stand. If you want to know what you can do, here you go. Stand. I'll let you know what's going on. I'll keep updating you. I want you to download this so it doesn't get scrubbed from off the internet. Then share it, upload it, send it out. And you can follow me here. You can follow me here. You can follow Stanton Gleaves and Clive and Bundy. Here I am. And I'll document this as it goes forward. They've called me and said, okay, we're going to have to start doing something. Well, we'll see what the next step is. Maybe they'll just leave me alone. I hope they do, because it's not theirs. Stanton Gleaves has some county commissioners with some grit and some county sheriffs up there. He ranches in 5 different counties, and those county sheriffs are standing up against him. BLM says to Stanton Gleaves there, you can't turn out here in these pastures. And Stanton Gleaves says, yes, I'm going to turn out in these pastures. And the county commissioners and the sheriffs stand up behind him. Proper form of government closest to the people. Those county sheriffs are elected by those people. Those county commissioners are accountable to those people. They have the power of recall. And anyway, they back him down. Now, I've talked to my county sheriff here. I'm going to go visit with him more. He's been very friendly over the phone. I'm going to visit with him, shake his hand, take the measure of the man, see how deep his love is for the Constitution, see about his understanding. But whether he backs me or not, I'm going to stand. But he said some very kind things. The BLM tried to get him to give resources, the Mojave County Sheriff Department, man and power and stuff, to move against Clive and here recently, and told him no way. So good for him. We shall see how it goes. America, stand. The night is far spent. The Constitution has been shredded. That it lives in your heart. You know what freedom is and what freedom isn't. Stand. Because when you stand, others will stand with you. And God can't stand with you if you don't stand. Once you stand, you can expect the hand of providence to be over you. Don't matter how it ends, it matters how you stand. This is Lavoy Finicum. One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. See you later. Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum, One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. Thought I'd just kind of bring you up to date, how things are progressing. Out here, been kind of tired, been hiking this water line up this mountain back, trying to fix some of my water lines, and off of my spring, one I talked about in one of my earlier videos. But this is a good example to try to highlight how the BLM combines all three branches of power. And that sound in the background is a bull. He's kind of been following me down off the mountain. I'm not sure what he's thinking, but he keeps bellowing and following me down here. But anyway, he may show up sometime along in this video. But anyway, let me explain what's going on here. This is the deed to my ranch. Right here. It's recorded in Mojave County. That's the county which my ranch is in, here in Arizona. And here's the description of my spring, along with my other assets and description of my ranch. I have half interest in Coyote Springs and Pipeline, period. So I have half interest in that spring. That spring flows about 500 gallons a day, goes into a 100,000 gallon tank. And so in a year's time, there's roughly about 200,000 gallons that flows out of there. So I have 100,000 gallons of water that I have purchased, that I own off that spring a year. Well, here you go. Here's a letter. Again, they claim to have exclusive legislative ability and power whatsoever. That means that they can write and create laws and back it up and by the rangers or take us into their court. Now remember, I don't recognize them. I don't recognize their right to own and control it. But here they have a letter sent. It says, as discussed, the two-weep little tuck-up little two-weep holds half interest in White Springs. Now that's correct. Water during the permitted season of use from October 16th to May 15th, 7 months. After this time, the entire flow will be allocated to the two-weep allotment, which is theirs. Let me explain that. Environmental group came in here by the name of Grand Canyon Trust, purchased up that ranch, then gave it to the BLM. BLM now has, they claim not only that, they claim the grazing rights and everything with it, plus the water. So now I have a deed for half that water. They're now sending me a letter saying, no, you don't have half the water. You only have a quarter of the water, a little more than a quarter of water. You have the water for 7 months and that's it, which is close to a 50% reduction. That means I only have 58,000 gallons that I can use for my cows in the year. My water lines go to my different pastures, and I have reservoirs and holding areas for my water that I'm going to flow in, half that water, 100,000 gallons a year. I own half that water 12 months out of the year. But they send a letter here and let me know that now that they are taking almost another 25% of it. And they say it's theirs, just with a letter. But I'm not losing any sleep. I use it and I'll run it where I need to run it. I see they're turning my line off. I'm down here hiking this mountain, fixing water lines and stuff. I'm tired to hike this whole dang mountain and back and get up there and try to find the leaks and get up there where I turn the water on. They turned it off. They turned it off. I've got to be careful. I'm only assuming it's them. They run a particular tread on their trucks, which are pretty notable, and they know where the valves are. And so I'm assuming that tread is like the treads they run, and they went over to the valve and they turned it off. Well, we could have a little problem there. But just letting you know, this is where it's going. They're continuing to increase their holdings and continue to buy out ranchers. And every year, the BLM's holdings are greater than the year before. Remember, federal government already controls 1/3 of the land mass. Each year that land mass expands. Well, anyway, I'm tired. I'm going to go home, get some dinner. Hope you have a good evening. This is Lavoy Finicum, One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum. I'm here on my ranch. I got a little tip that government might be messing with my waters. I've come out here and checked. This tank here has been sabotaged. I can't get the water to flow from my holding tank down to my drinkers. Never had problems all the years I've ran here. My holding tank up here for my cows also sabotaged. Can't get the water out of the holding tanks into my drinkers. I know that the hunters have all their cameras here. This water's for big game, not just for my cows. I like the hunters here. I like the cameras on my waters. And now there's no water here where all these cameras are for the deer that the guides are using. So I'm appealing to you hunters, to any of you guides, any of you that know that ever seen any government vehicles coming through here. If you heard of anybody sabotaging these waters, please let me know. Contact the Mojave County Sheriff or myself, Lavoy Finicum, 435-215-7307. 435-215-7307. Choking my dang cows down. When you start messing with water, it keeps your cows alive. That's not okay. Any information anybody has, please let me know. I'm going to have to try to work on these things and get the water flowing again. I'll let you know how things progress. But here it goes. Catch you later. Thanks for any help. Bye. Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum, One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. Wanted to give you an update where things are going. But first, before I do that, I think it's important that I kind of clarify some things. People may think that I'm anti-government or I'm anarchist, and I'm certainly not. I believe in government. I believe in the federal government. We need the federal government. How else are we going to protect our country and protect our borders, keep commerce regular amongst the states? That's what the federal government's for. Unfortunately, they seem to be doing a poor job about our country and our borders. But I do believe in government, and I believe in the proper relationship between the states and the federal government and the counties. And I'm upholding the 10th Amendment. Well, anyway, let me get down to where we're at. There are 7 days to return my 45,000 gallons of water has come and passed, and plus plenty more. And they haven't done that, nor contacted me to make arrangements to restore the water they've taken. And so, as I've stated in the letter I sent to them, that I'll be needing to take all 500 gallons a day out of this tank until I get my water restored to me. It's going to take at least 180 days. If you were to look, this is a huge tank. 100,000 gallons, and the water level, if you fill it, the water level is right there. Warm here, cold here. You can see that. When you climb up top, you can tell. So you can tell they drain just about all of the tank, and since the summer, we're going into fall now, it's only recovered that much. I need this water. It's going to flow down to my pasture down here, and my reservoir is almost out of water. So now I'm going to turn all 100% of the water down line here. Want to show you how it's done so you can kind of understand it. And so here we go. So I'm going to climb up here, give you a little bit of an idea where I'm headed, and then I'll pull this thing up. Let's see, where's the ladder? The ladder's up there somewhere. Oh, there you can see a little bit of that ladder there. I got to jump up and grab that, and then I'll pull up the counter. That's off the foot. Kind of high up here. Got a roof on pipe. All right, here we go. We're on the top of the tank. Well, it's a great view out here. Whew. Now down over there is reservoir, the BLMs. This is the ranch that they call theirs, the BLM, and they got water in a reservoir down here, so they got water for their cattle. But they're taking the flow, all the flow actually, out of this tank right now to a little drinker down there, and none of it's going down to my place. And I'll show you how this works. This is the lid, and big old hole down there. Not sure what you can see with all this bright sun and stuff, but it goes way down there. Explain to you what you're looking at, which you can't probably see a dang thing down there, is there's two straws or two pipes. And what happens is the lowest pipe takes all the water, and the highest straw gets left out of the water. They have my straw pulled out of the water, and so no water is running down into my lower camp where my reservoir and cows are at this time. And their straw is in the water running down to their cows, their tank over here. And so I'm pulling up. Again, their cows still have water. They got springs over here and reservoirs with water. I'm going to pull up their straw, and I'm going to put my straw in the water. And this is how you switch the valves. There's actually valves on the line, but this is where the water gets into the lines. I'm going to do that right now. This is really sophisticated stuff. A rope and a pipe. Some knots. Okay. Their straw's out of the water. I'm going to tie it up. And remember, these cows are actually a rancher's who's working with them on their ranch. Their cows have plenty of water, and they're not giving me a single drop out of this tank right now, so I'm taking all of it. There she goes. Just drop that just below the surface. Now tie it up. There we go. That's how it's done. Now the hard part is getting all the airlocks out of the line now. It can take several days to get that done, to get the water to start flowing down to my pasture down there. But I gave them the 7+ days to restore the water. They haven't done it, haven't contacted me. I need the water. It's my water. I own half of it. They claim the other half of it. So there it is. catch you later. I'll let you know how things progress. Oh, and to let everybody know, I got one of my other trick tanks over there working. The two that have been stocked up. One of them's working. It took me a couple of days, but got the most important one working. I'll try to check on it before I head home. Thanks everyone, and appreciate everybody's support, and we'll catch you later. Bye. Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum. I promised you I'd keep you updated with how things are going, and so I need to update you. A lot has happened in the last few days. I've just had a long day. It's late in the evening. I've traveled to Kingman, our county seat, and back. That's a round trip of approximately 600 miles. So I went down there, had an appointment with our county sheriff, Jim McCabe. Good visit with him. I learned a lot, and I like what I heard. And so I'll tell you what the conversation was about. He's already been approached by the feds, by the FBI, and the head of the BLM law enforcement. And forgive me if I get the names right, but I think Special Agent Bean, I think is the name. Forgive me if I have it wrong. And Blakely is the BLM head of the BLM Rangers, law enforcement in this area. And they've already approached the county sheriff. They have a plan. It's being implemented. And the sheriff says he doesn't know what it is, but he promised me that they were not going to let things lag. But this was the interesting thing, and I want to take my hat off and give a tip to Sheriff McCabe. I appreciated what I saw, what I heard. He seems to be a man of integrity. First time I've met him, I spoke to him before. This was his stand. He says that he is interested that there is no physical confrontation, and that he doesn't want the feds pointing guns at me and me not to point guns at them. And that's a dang good idea. In fact, it'd be a very stupid thing for me to point guns at anybody. I've never pointed guns at anybody. I don't intend to. But let's get some of the history straight. They have pointed guns at me and have promised to shoot me. So let's get the history straight. Because I rode down there with my friend and neighbor Clive and Bundy. They pointed a lot of guns at us. Snipers, SWAT teams, Federal Rangers, and promising to shoot. So there's only one side that's pointed guns when it comes to me, and it's not me, it's them. But this is an interesting thing, is that they had my letters that I sent to Washington D.C. to the Solicitor General, saying that I'm canceling all my grazing contracts with them. And so they had that to present, and they requested an interesting thing. They requested to be deputized by the county sheriff. That's actually a good thing. That's recognizing that the county sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer. And they're trying to cover all their bases this time. They've studied and learned from the Bundy standoff, and so they're laying good groundwork. The sheriff refused to do that. So thank you, Sheriff McCabe. He says, I see this not as a breaking the law thing. He says, and forgive me if I don't get everything quite right, Sheriff McCabe, but this is the way I remember it, the way I understand it from our conversation today, is that you're just, you won't tolerate people pointing guns at each other. And thank you. I appreciate that. Now, let's go down the track a little bit more. Well, the Special Agent Bean and Chief BLM Law Enforcement Officer Blakely, what are they doing? Well, yesterday they're out scoping out the lay of the land of my ranch. They're getting a feel for the land. They're meeting with some of the neighboring ranchers and bumping them from information, getting the feel of where they stand on this issue. Tend to be trying to sow a little bit of seeds of fear and distrust. And so they've done that. They've gone to the county sheriff asking to be deputized. And the county sheriff said, I don't know what their plan is, but they are not going to let it lay. But they said to the sheriff, the Fed said to the sheriff, we promise you that we're not going to have a physical confrontation with Mr. Finicum out there. We're going to solve this thing, and the word that was used was administratively. Well, that's good, I guess, that they're not going to make a physical confrontation. But let me ask you a couple of questions. If there's not going to be a physical confrontation, why are you asking to be deputized? And if you're not looking at doing anything physical, why are you scoping out the lay of the land? And what are you going to do if I don't leave? Sounds like all those things tend to look like something is going to happen physically. So I would like to know what your plans are, Feds. You're going to come at me financially. You've already contacted my lending institution. It looks like this meeting that's set up for this Friday with Mojave County supervisors, the brand inspector, and the head of the grazing board. And I imagine, pretty certain, you've already made your contacts with them. And so I'm a little curious about this meeting. That it sounds to me like it's kind of a setup to me. I have a hard time trusting you, federal government. I really do. And you say, well, why shouldn't I trust you or take your word? Well, I think our chief executive officer, Mr. President Obama, says things like, if you want your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period, in relations to Obamacare. And it will bend the cost of health care down $2,500 per family, knowing full well that those are lies. Those are just simple things. We're lied to from the rising of the sun to the setting of the moon. And you have lost all credibility. And on a personal note, I'm very well aware of the deceptions that you were playing down there at Bundyville. You were very deceptive in your actions and in the way you presented yourself and the things that you tried to do. So I'm well aware of that. Now, so here's another line that I need to draw in the sand. It's very important that I'm very clear and upfront with everybody. And please, America, pay attention to this. This is not a small thing. I will not step into a federal court. Now, why? I have been listed as a domestic terrorist with all those of us that stood with Clive Bundy down there. That is no small thing. More than once, at the highest levels of the federal government, we have been classified as domestic terrorists. Under the NDAA Act, the National Defense Authorization Act, a domestic terrorist can be detained indefinitely without trial. So there is no way I am going to take your word that I'll get a fair shake in a federal court. So it's just not going to happen. So whatever your next plan is administratively, know this. I'm not going into a federal court. I will not take your word. You're deceptive. I love the feel of the wind on my face. I love the smell of the sage. I love the smell of the cedar and the pinyon. The desert after rain, that smell is just unique. I love that. One of my most favorite smells. I love the feel of a good strong horse beneath me. I love being a free man. So no matter how long or short my days may be, I am going to live as a free man. I am not going to bow down before you. I am not going to take my cows off of there. How about this? How about you go home? How about you leave us alone? How about you leave Mojave County to manage Mojave County? You, federal government, have woven yourself into every nook and cranny and aspect of our lives in America. Nobody can say that the Affordable Care Act is freedom. We are not free. You have found a way to regulate every aspect of our lives. Well, here I am. I'm just a little simple rancher out here. And I can stand up and say, you know what? I'm through. I'm going to live as a free man. Well, Mr. Obama, this goes out to you. You are the Chief Executive Officer. This goes out to you, Loretta Lynch. You're the Attorney General. This goes out to you, Special Agent Bean. Again, I hope we got your name right. And to you, BLM Ranger Blakely. I'm not going. I'm not leaving. How about you leave? How about you leave me alone? How about you leave my cows alone? Sounds good to me. Well, I'll let you know how things go. And everyone, how about we just stand up for freedom? How about we quit bowing down to this type of overreach of a federal government that has amassed control and power ever increasing into itself? How about we stand up and tell them, go back. Return to the confines of the Constitution. Well, this is just Lavoy. One cowboy stand for freedom. I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. And hope you have a good evening. Thanks. Hello, this is Lavoy Finicum. I told you that I'd give you an update on how things are progressing. And in my last video, I told you that there was a meeting scheduled. They've requested to have a meeting with me, the county supervisors, or supervisor, Gary Watson, and the head of Fish and Game, the cattle brand inspector, and the head of the grazing board, Merlin Esplin. I mentioned I wasn't sure if this was how sincere this was, or if they was wanting to just work something with me, or if it was kind of a setup. And so let me tell you how it went. It was just going to be me and these agency heads in a meeting, and I figured that they might try to come and bear pressure on me. Just before I left, I got a call from Clive and Bud, and he says, you know, you ought to call a couple other ranchers to come. And so I did. I'm glad I did. They came and was able to attend there. Clive and his son was able to come up. I'm very glad that they attended. So let me tell you how it turned out. In the meeting, they began to speak, and also I think the hand of Providence was in there. The things that turned out just so happened to be, coincidentally, a lot of our state representatives were there. And let me put some names to these faces, or some names to these people. The head of the Fish and Game here is Luke Thompson. County Commissioner, County Supervisor, Gary Watson, head of the Grazing Board, Merlin Esplin, and the Brand Inspector, Raymond Christensen. So those were the ones who were intended to be there. Just happened to be that there's some state representatives there. Very glad that they were there. Very glad that they were there. Regina E. Cobb, House of Representatives for our area. State House of Representatives. Very glad. I didn't get the cards of all the state representatives who were there and officials. Margaret Nyberg, and hope I pronounced that right. Bill Barker, Chief Deputy Treasurer, and we also have other one here. Well, there was a couple other ones, but they all happened to be there. Gave me a great opportunity to teach. I spoke for about an hour. I was able to teach about what grazing rights were, how they were established. These state representatives, they were very appreciative of my explanations and my teachings and the constitutional line upon which I was standing. They were very cordial, asking questions, sincere in those questions. Now, Gary Watson and was very cordial, very friendly. Head of the Fish and Game here, Luke Thompson. Very friendly guy. Seems to be a very decent man. Merlin Esplin, decent man, head of the grazing board. But I asked each of them, I said, I didn't ask Merlin Esplin, but he works hand in hand with the BLM, head of the grazing board. I asked the Luke Thompson, did the FBI come to you with the head of law enforcement from the BLM before you come to meet with me? Yes, they did. Hesitated a little bit in answering that. Gary Watson, did they come and meet me? Well, yes, they did. Of course they did. Okay. So the FBI, head of BLM law enforcement, have come to my state representatives here, not state representatives, but my county representatives, the Fish and Game, and the Grazing Board, and they all come to put pressure on me, to get me to step down, to back off. And this is what they said. They said, Mr. Finicum, very cordial with me, this is not a good time. If you do this, it's going to hurt a lot of people. Gary Watson, Merlin Esplin, if you do this, they'll cancel all our grazing permits out here on the strip. Luke Thompson, if the Sierra Clubs and people get hold of this, if you stand and call these your grazing rights, if you don't back down, we might lose our ability to hunt here. The federal government might close it down. And I'm looking around, I'm saying, what the heck? Is this the state of Arizona? Or is this just the kingdom of the federal government? And I'm hearing them being afraid of the federal government, what they're going to do. They're going to pull everybody's grazing rights. They call them permits. They're going to pull everybody's grazing permits, and everybody will lose their jobs here. They'll shut down the hunting, and there won't be any hunting here. This isn't America. This isn't what we are. I'm not backing down. Let's grow a backbone. This is exactly what I'm standing up against. This is the state of Arizona. The federal government does not own this, does not control this. Yet here we are afraid that they're going to take everybody's ranches, afraid that they're going to shut down everybody's hunting. No, they're not. This is Arizona. Americans, individual Americans, will stand up and tell them no. But they've got to stand. Instead, they come and say, Mr. Finicum, you got to stop. You can't do this. Wait until we get another president. What does another president have to do with this? This is the state of Arizona. This is private grazing rights. President Obama has nothing to do with my grazing rights. If Ben Carson, good man, becomes the next president, he has nothing to do with my grazing rights. And if Ted Cruz or any of the others become president, good for them. But this is Arizona. The federal government does not own and control this land. Yet here we are, state officials, afraid and bowing down to this overreaching, overbearing central government and giving them power by acknowledging that they have the power to pull everybody's grazing rights, have the power to stop the hunting on the land. Well, they may do what they want, but I am not going to back down. They know that they're going to come after me and try to crush me financially and then go after my cows. I promise you this, America. I promise you, I will spend every last dime I have, what little it may be, till every last one of my horses are gone, until every one last of my cows are gone, until I have shed every drop of my blood upon this land. I will not back down. I will not capitulate to this federal government. I will not bow to the pressures as the FBI and the BLM law enforcement goes around and collecting their cooperating agencies to all begin to bear pressure upon me. I will not do it. So help me God, I will not do it. I will die before and I'll sleep well at night. I'll live as a free man. You don't worry me, federal government. You don't worry me, Special Agent Dean. You don't worry me, Head of Law Enforcement of BLM, Mr. Blakely. I hope I got your names right. You know, we all only have one life. We spend it upon which we really believe in. You believe in government. You believe in a central power. I believe in the freedom of the individual American. My life may be long or it may be short, but I will spend it on freedom. And maybe we'll get a chance to look each other in the eye. So be it. Anyway, hope you have a good evening. Catch you later. Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum. I think I'm pretty upset this evening. I've been going since 5 this morning. I'm headed out, taking a load of cows out to my winter range. I'll be back sometime tonight in the dark. But I've been following what's happening over in Bend, Oregon with that ranching family over there, the Hammond family. And I'm pretty upset with what the BLM has done to them. Actually, I'm really angry. They had a prescribed burn that was allowed, got off onto 100 acres, burned 100 acres of BLM. Just rangeland, you know, 100 acres. They'll come back just as green next year as ever. They threw him in jail. They fined him tremendous amount of fines. And now it looks like they're facing 5 more years in prison. These are real lives. These are real people. And by dang, I'm angry about it. America, how long are we going to put up with this type of stuff? You know, it's time to stop. You know, here in this area, BLM's good to the ranchers here. They don't have a problem here out on the strip. Some good, decent people there. But the question isn't, are they doing good? The question is, should they have the power to do good? If they've got the power to do good, they got the power to do bad. If they got the power to help, they have the power to destroy. They shouldn't have the power, period. Because look what they're doing over to that family, the Hammond family. It's outrageous. And I'm pretty dang angry about it. I'd like to use a lot stronger language, but my daughters and my wife will probably watch this, and my mom, and so I'll refrain. But dadgummit, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. BLM, here I am. You want to pick on somebody? Come pick on me. My cows are out here. You tell me you got to get them off. I'm not taking them off. You know, you want to play those antics with other people, harass them, destroy their lives? Well, here I am. You come pick on me. Come on, pick on me. And I'm not going anywhere. By darn, it's time somebody stands up and tells you, go fly a kite. Well, I'm kind of upset, as you can tell. Got a lot to do before I go home and get some dinner tonight, so we'll catch you later. Bye. Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum, One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. You know, it's time I give you an update of what's going on. It's been a while since I made another video, and I promise you I'd kind of keep you posted. Well, I've gotten several more letters from the BLM. My fines have gone from 1,400 to now they've tacked on almost another 5,000, and saying, Mr. Finicum, you need to get your tail off of here and get your cows off. Well, as you know, I'm not taking my cows off. I'm not getting my tail off of my ranch here. And I want you to know what's going on here. I'm here at my cow camp, my winter cow camp, here at my corrals, and I want you to show you what I find here. Okay, this is the road right by my place, and you know, this could just be a coincidence, but dang, I just don't like coincidence anymore at this point in my life. And here it is. Take a look at this. Just saw the BLM guys parked here, and I stopped to see what's going on, and this is what's going on. And wanted to talk with him. He says he wasn't interested in talking to me, and went on down the road. Maybe he'll come swinging back by, but maybe he'll take the other way out. But this is what he's got going here. Now listen, I'm not going to damage anything. I'm not going to hurt anything. So I'm going to leave this just as good as I found it. So, and I don't want anybody else coming around and damaging it and hurting things. This is their property. As much as I disagree with them, I don't believe in damaging property. Okay? Alright, here it is. Just so happen to have this by my camp, my corrals. Open it up here. That's a pretty nice, sophisticated piece of equipment. I'm not techie at all, but man, advanced counting system. You can take care of cars, people walking with backpacks, bicycles, somebody on a four-wheeler, and it'll take care of bucks too. And so I don't know if it'll take care of does, but it'll take care of bucks. And now if we get some snow, it'll take care of somebody running up and down the road on a snowmobile. Again, this could just be a coincidence, but man, I sure hate you putting this right here by my camp. And why wouldn't you talk with me? Why wouldn't you explain what you got going here? And why you put it right here? You just drive off, and that's okay. I was being friendly. I wasn't being ignorant or disrespectful. I don't believe in being that way. I can disagree with somebody. I don't need to call them names, and I don't need to be disrespectful. I don't believe in that. And I don't believe in destroying things. So there it is. It's back the way I found it. Well, this fight I'm making, America, it's not about cows and it's not about grass. It's about the freedom of our land. This grazing right is my personal property right. I own it. And once they get me off here, if they get me off here and they take these grazing rights from me, hunters, you'll be next. They have already taken the mineral rights off this very land, off this very ranch. They've already seized it and taken it with the stroke of a pen. It's theirs. You can't touch it. And if you think that they want you to have a gun, let alone hunt, you're mistaken where this government's going. They don't appreciate you coming out here hunting and camping without their permission. That's not where things are going. Right up the road here, they just stuck up another little blue sign. They say, okay, Kelly Point, it's closed. We're closing it off. Certain times of year, it's closed off. Well, now you go up on the Kaibab, they're closing the roads off there. You think you're going to keep getting access out here to hunt and camp? You're not. They're going to keep squeezing it and keep closing it. They just made the Parashant Monument. I'm on half the Parashant Monument. And now they're trying to make the Grand Canyon Monument. What's that all about? They say, oh, we're not changing anything. Well, then why make a monument? Why change it if you're not changing anything? Well, I don't believe them. I don't trust them. So where's it going? I've been contacted by my state representatives down in Phoenix. Went in and visited with them at their request and their invitation. And I've talked with other county commissioners down in the central part of our state. And let me tell you what I was told. It says that our county sheriffs are already having nose-to-nose confrontations with the federal fish and game officers. What the heck are we having federal fish and game officers running around here for? Fish and game, hunting is regulated by the state. That's the proper way it should be done. Now we got federal fish and game officers running around here. You know what that state representative told me that confrontation was? Those fish and game officers were shutting down the roads, locking them off, putting locks and padlocks on them. And then those sheriffs are going up and cutting them off. And they had nose-to-nose confrontations. You need to wake up. You need to see what's coming. But I'm not happy with this. But this is beautiful land. It's a place for freedom. Freedom's worth fighting for. This land's worth fighting for. Our founding fathers never envisioned a central power holding so much control over 1/3 of the landmass. You know, over 80% of this county here is controlled by the BLM with complete legislative, executive powers whatsoever. Well, no, it's not. I'm saying no. I'm not going to bow down here. This is Arizona. This is Mojave County, and so here I am. I'm not leaving, and I want to put a thank you out to all the hundreds of people who have contacted me. for the last little while, just hundreds, and you've been gracious, you've been kind, and I appreciate it. You've been saying, Mr. Finicum, what can I do to help? You know, I'll come if you need to come. I have a couple of security specialist teams here. They're just helping to keep safe with their teams, and they're able to help organize. And if you want to come out and take a look at the ranch, it's beautiful out here. I want to stop. This is America. We're neighbors. We're friends. And so I want to extend that invitation to you. One other thing I wanted to say, but it kind of slipped my mind. I'm just a normal old guy out here. Oh, I know what it was. You need to listen to what's happening, federal government, BLM. I'm not the only one standing. I've got now a half a dozen ranchers that say they'll come and stand with me, stand behind me, stand beside me. And guess what? You know what Bundy did and who stands and who doesn't stand with him. Now there's a rancher up in Utah, and he's got more ranchers and stuff standing by him than me and Bundy combined. This guy's a tough character, and he's making things happen. So BLM, this stuff isn't going away. And guess what? We now got a rancher in Texas standing up, defying you. And you got a governor in Texas standing behind him. And so we aren't just a bunch of want to be anarchists, and we don't believe in government, want to take down government. Contrary, I believe in government. I believe in the federal government. We need the federal government, but in their proper place. They need to be controlled by the confines of the law. Right now, they are the anarchists, running beyond all their banks. But we need them. We need them to protect our borders, to keep commerce regular, and to keep our country safe. And just a few other things, very identified in the Constitution. But they have usurped power and authority everywhere. And this is just one place I can stand. Now there's ranchers standing in Utah, ranchers in Nevada, ranchers in Texas that are starting to stand up and saying, no, we will not comply. And so, Mr. Obama, President Obama, what you going to do about it? Mr. Neil Cornsey, head of Bureau of Department of Interior, you know, I know this stuff's coming and hitting your desk, because those little letters I write to you out there, man, they come back with an FBI agent holding it in hand. So I know you're listening. And Miss Loretta Lynch, Attorney General, you going to leave us Americans alone? Are you going to start stepping on us more? You're stepping on Americans already. What you did to that Hammond family up in Bend, Oregon, you sent them to jail. And then they served their time, they got out of jail, and you charged them as terrorists because they're doing a controlled burned 100 acres of what you call your lands of brush. 7 years ago. The land is now more fruitful, more feed on it now because of what they did. You convicted them on a terrorism charge. They served their time, 1 3 months, another 1 year, and you come back and says, that's not enough. We need more flesh released. That's a good family. And that's what you did. You re-litigated their sentences. Now they've got 5 more years approximately that they got to serve. That's a good family. America, these are good people that are being hurt and destroyed. A rancher in New Mexico they took out. The ranchers in all other parts of the country that they have taken out, that they're putting pressure on. I know they're putting pressure on one of my neighbors right now over here on the Kaibab. And, you know, these are families. These are our livelihoods. This is our grazing rights. This is our heritage. And you want to trample on it? Well, give it a try. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. America, I love you. I love you Americans that love freedom. I'll stand here with you or wherever any other American will stand for freedom. Freedom's worth living for. Freedom's worth dying for. Anyway, this is Lavoy. One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. Have a good day.
Hello everyone, this is Lavoy Finicum. This is the second day I've been out here trying to get my waters running on my tanks. This here is my second tank I was telling you about in my first video. As you can see, I'm full to the brim. It's a large tank, goes down subterranean ways, and this is my most crucial tank here. And you'll see how this works. It's an apron. It's called a trick tank. The rains come, gathers on this tarp here, this apron, and then it flows down, and it will come in here right there and runs into my my holding tank. Been working on it all day. My best guess is that they've dumped in some bentonite or dry concrete and it's flowed down in and it's plugged my lines. And I'll show you what I've been doing. I've had to siphon out to try to get water into my drinker here. So follow me on down here. This is the hose where I was able to siphon it out over the top, and then been digging here at my float box right around here. You can see this is called my drinker right over here. And that's where the deer and the cattle come in. And you'll see my float box wasn't damaged, which is right here. But if you can see down in there or not, but you can see that's my water line coming in. See, it's cut. I've cut it to see why I'm not flowing. There's no flow of water from there up to my tank. They've put something in. Let's plug that up. Flowed in my line and plugged my line. I'm reminding you that I was tipped off a very good source. This is government did this. And so, not very happy. There's no water in here for days. I followed my cows even in here this morning. Their tracks came in here this morning looking for water. Went back out, no water. I got some water in here now, but large rains. I'll have a few head up here on this part, and I'm hoping they can swing back in and check one more time and hope they find water. Well, this is me, Lavoy Finicum, bringing you up to speed. What's going on? We'll be working on my other one again tomorrow, and this one here again tomorrow, and see what I can do. You can see right here, you'll see on that post, that's a game camera. You look over there, try and take that in a little bit, and you can see there's game cameras right there. See, this is prime mule deer hunting for big old bucks. This is one of the most coveted trophy mule deer areas in the whole United States. And dang guys, cut off the water not only to my cows but also to the deer. And again, any of you guides, any of you hunters that know anything, please let me know. 928 or 435-215-7307. Thanks. Catch you later. Bye.
Good morning, America. And this is Lavoy Finicum. I am here at the Harney County Resource Center, formerly known as the Malheur Wildlife Resource National Refuge, and it is now the Harney County Resource Center. This is January 15th, about 7:45, and it has been about 13 days since the Hammonds have been in prison unjustly. That was the match that struck the fuse that put a lot of this in motion. And so that is going to be forefront here in much of what we do. And it has been 13 days since we have occupied this as a peaceful place to work from to restore our Constitution. What I'm going to do is, America, is I'm going to give you a daily update from the inside here of what's going on, what we're doing, and try to get the message out in another venue here. And so, I hope you understand what this is about. This is about all of America. This is about our Constitution. It's about requiring our federal government to return to the confines of the law, to deal with the things of the national level, to allow the states to deal with the things of the states and the counties to deal with the things of the county, to restore a republican form of government. This land is special. This land needs to be free again. It cannot be free when our government has become lawless and they find no restrictions to their actions. They completely disregard the limits that we the people have put upon them, namely the Constitution. So we're requiring them to return to the confines of the law. Now, America, I want to speak to you a little bit more broadly. This fight is not just for the ranchers here that have been oppressed by the federal government in the destruction of their way of life, the ranches, the logging, but it's about every American citizen. It's about those of you who love this land. It's about those of you on the West Coast, the East Coast. Believe me that they are already restricting your freedoms in major ways. They're limiting access to the land. Once they get the ranchers off, they will then get the hunters off, and then your access to freely move in this country, in this land, upon these public lands, will be more restricted. Now, every day I will bring to you, maybe several times a day, anything that I feel is breaking and pertinent. And so that's what I'll do. You can follow this here on my YouTube channel, and also probably on the webpage, One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. Maybe I could just go back and explain how the day it was that we got here and how it happened, because I was one of the first ones that pulled in here. We came up here on that day to do a peaceful support march for the Hammond family before they were thrown into prison, not once but for a second time for the same charges. And the hour before the rally, Hammond Bundy and pulled us aside with a group of residents, a group of people that came up to support, and he took the time to go through the litany of all the things he did to get redress for the Hammonds. And it was extensive and over a considerable period of time. And he was completely ignored. Had tens of thousands of signatures turned into Judge Grassi. Judge Grassi, simple comment, not to him, but to the world, was, these are just crazies. Well, once the ability to get redress from our elected officials, this is what failed. This is what Ammon said. He said, and I'll paraphrase it because I'm just doing what I remember. He said, I feel very strongly that if we allow to go unchecked this persecution of the Hammond family and do nothing about it, it will become the new normal for American citizens. So America, this is about your freedom, about having justice equal under the law. And he said that we have to do more than just hold signs and peacefully march. Those are basically my words. But he laid out the plan an hour before the march to say we need to come here and occupy this resource center, this wildlife refuge that the federal government has placed here. He said that this is the place of which they base out of, that they've used to destroy many of these ranchers and these ranching families. And that, so we left, I left with Ryan Bundy. Ammon did the march with Ryan Bundy and a handful of others, and we drove out here. And I want you to know that as we came out here, there was a lot of thoughts going through my mind. There's a term called crossing the Rubicon. None of the generals in Rome were to cross the river, the Rubicon, and go at the head of their armies. But when Caesar crossed the Rubicon at the head of his army, there's no turning back. And I thought to myself, I've not yet crossed the Rubicon. I've not yet walked in and seized this federal facility. And as I thought upon this, I says, once I do that, there'll be no turning back. And as I pondered, I was driving. I was the rear guard. And we went across this great flat of frozen water and snow. There up ahead was a bald eagle, a large, beautiful bald eagle sitting on the fence post, watching us coming. As we passed, it lifted off and flew. And I said to myself, this is not about cows and grass. It's about freedom. And so I crossed the Rubicon. I'm all in. And so it is time to require our federal government to return to the confines of the law, to uphold the 10th Amendment, to put the states, allow the states to function in their proper role, to allow the county governments to function in their proper role. And so this is what we're doing, and I will keep updating you. There on my webpage, One Cowboy Stand for Freedom. If any of you have questions, you can post them there, and I can try to answer them. If I can get a chance, I'll do my best. But I'm going to keep you updated with what we're doing. Yesterday, Ryan Bundy and myself left, slipped out of here, actually 2 days ago, and went to another state, another county that is very strongly being pressed, not near as bad as here, but is ready to stand up and to ask the federal government to leave their county. And so we were there to support and encourage that from happening, to happen. A very good meeting, some very good people. This is not to stop. This resource center is very symbolic. It is like their fortress, which they operated out of for many years, and seized the resources of Harney County. We have now occupied their fort, and we're not giving it back. It goes to Harney County. This facility, this compound, does not return to the federal government. It is the state of Oregon. It is the Harney County's resource center. And here we are to help the Harney County citizens reclaim their right to access to the resources of their land. There's many particulars that I can go into, which I will not at this time, but I'll try to feed those out to you maybe several times a day, maybe once a day, but to keep you updated. Thank you very much, and this is Lavoy Finicum reaching out to you, America, asking you to stand up, uphold the Constitution, uphold the rule of law, and we shall catch you in a little bit. Thank you. Use that. We're going to make it happen soon.
All right, fantastic.
We'll make it happen soon.
Excellent.
Good morning, everyone. Today was supposed to be an important day. Today was the day that we said that we'd have our meeting with the community to outline exactly why we're here and when we would leave. Unfortunately, Judge Grasty has been most active in squashing that, making sure that we have no access to facilities, to talk to the residents, to talk to the people. So I asked, Judge, what are you afraid of? Are you hiding something? Why are you afraid of open dialogue? This is the same judge that put great pressure upon all those state representatives from 3 different states and put great pressure to have them not come and meet with us. So again, why? Why, Judge Grasty, are you not allowing this to happen? And also, we would like to ask the FBI to go home. If you'll notice that who has guns at schools, who has guns around the public buildings, it's not us. It's the federal government. They're fear-mongering. We want them to quit acting this way. Quit being provocateurs. Quit acting as militia and stirring up fear. There's no need for that. We can get on with the business and get out of here quicker. And if you go home, take your guns away from the schools. Take your guns away from the county buildings. Take down those barricades. This isn't Russia. This isn't the Berlin Wall. So, having said that, I only have a few things to announce here. I understand that the annual coyote hunt is coming up, and we're excited for that. We invite the hunters to go ahead and access the refuge. I listen to the packs of coyotes every night. There's a lot of them out there. The pelts will be at their prime right now. This is an annual thing for this county, and so we don't want that to be disrupted. We want those traditions to continue
for them to feel welcomed, all those who come from all areas. There are other counties, neighboring counties, that are reaching out to us at this time, asking us to meet with them and to look at doing some of the same things that are happening here in Harney County. I don't have any specifics that I'll give you at this time, and I think that that's about all I really want to give at this time. If there's any questions, we've got a lot of work to do, but if there's any questions, I'll take a few questions.
The coyote hunters have been advised on the sheriff's alert page to stay away from the refuge. Is it an area that they normally are allowed to hunt, and do you encourage them to come to this area to hunt, if in fact they're allowed?
This is Harney County, and they should be free to access all the public lands, and this is Harney County public land, and so we're not worried by them. They should not be worried by us. They're hunters. They know that you don't point guns at people. We know that we don't point guns at people. So it's all well. It's all good.
So what will you do to get county permission to use their facilities for a meeting?
Well, we have been exhausting every resource, and if they do not do that, we shall still make this meeting happen soon. We are looking at other facilities from local residents that will open this up and be more generous than the judge here. Again, why, Judge? Why not have dialogue? Why not be open? We're looking for transparency.
Did you know when the meeting might happen?
To take part in the coyotes?
No, we got too much to do. That sounds like a lot of fun, but no, we've got much to do. Thanks.
When will the meeting happen?
On your talks with the other counties? Can you say what other counties you've been in talks with?
No, not at this time, but they're bordering counties. I'll say that.
And are they officials from counties, or are they just are they local residents?
There's residents, and Ammon's been doing most of the interfacing. So as far as county commissioners or county supervisors, I don't know the extent of that. I will say this, that I've been in communication with county residents or county supervisors from other states. I personally have met with them that have great concerns about what's going on, the overreach of the federal government, and they too are looking at Harney County, trying to look at ways that they can support them and possibly doing the same thing. So this is not just a one state issue, a one county issue, but it is expanding into other states and many other counties. So we've got a lot of work to do, but it's moving. It's high time that things be done.
Do you think they're a little fearful you might take over another county building if you're allowed to access it, since you took over this refuge?
Well, there's no need to do that. This is a great facility. Got lots of room.
You're saying the judge won't let you use another public facility, so what's to stop you from taking over another
Wouldn't that be a terrible media presentation for us to come in there where we don't need the facility to show such poor faith to the county residents that want to hear what we're doing, and so there is no need for such fear.
Do you have a tentative time and date for a meeting?
We're looking at today is Friday. We're hoping early, like Monday, probably Sunday. We try to kick things down on Sunday, but we're looking towards Monday to get this done. Maybe Judge will have a change of heart and allow his residents of his county to come and meet with us personally. We have a PowerPoint presentation that we want to give so that they can have some concrete clarity of our actions.
Why don't you just have it out here?
We want them to be comfortable. The county people to come in and be able to sit down.
Or how about down in the refuge?
Well, we meet with them all the time there. But we want to have them have the opportunity to meet with us all.
How about holding the judge accountable for a direct violation of the First Amendment? People have the freedoms to assemble, correct?
My understanding is that the judge is actually in violation of specific statutes right now by his actions. I'm not an attorney at that level or anything like that. So that's my understanding, that he is actually violating specific statutes by his actions.
Is there anything you can tell us about your plans to leave? I mean, obviously the community would hear you on this platform as well.
No, I will let Ammon present that. Ammon Bundy, he is the person to present that. He's the one that actually set this whole thing in motion, and so it would be proper and appropriate for that to come.
Is it true that the residents, a lot of them are asking that you don't leave too soon because they don't want to get back to what the powers that be call normal, which is the Hammonds in jail?
I thank you for the question.
Thank you.
It's a softball question, but I'll sure love to hit that because it's
Yes,
very important. Is that yes? The answer is yes. The most common thing that these ranchers had to say when they began to come to us was that they were very concerned and fearful of retaliations by the federal government, by the Forest Service, by the BLM. And they said, will you leave us alone? Will you stir this up, and then will you leave when we need you? If we start standing up and sticking our heads out and making a stand, will you leave us alone? And did you not witness the pressure that was brought to bear upon the pockets? I announced that we were going to go open that fence, and did you know the FBI was there before I even got down in my truck and got out here, putting pressure upon them? FBI and BLM, the intimidation that they put upon these people, they're well organized, and they got there before we did. And so that is true. Well, if there's no other questions, I think I will get back to work.
Tell us about progress with the grand jury and Judge Bissett. How's that moving along?
No, I can't really make any comments on that.
What percentage of the local population do you feel you're speaking to? Because when I went to meetings, it seemed like maybe 10% were with you. But what percentage do you think you're talking to?
What was fed back to me, because I don't go to that, I go to the meetings that are here, and that's 100%, okay? The meetings in there, I heard that there was a third that says, you guys need to get out of Dodge, and a third that says, we like what you're doing, we're not liking your method, appreciate it, but we want you to go, and about a third saying, don't go, stay. But let's talk about a republic. It's the right of the individual that we're looking at, not the right of the collective. You know, if there's just one rancher that's saying, please help me, please don't go, what about him? What about the Hammonds? What about that family that's in prison? What about the one? We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that one family. All these abuses that have been building for a long time, but it was that one family that is what, now 11 days in prison? That unjustly so? Let them be released. It is about the one family right now. And so, thank you, and I will call it good at that. I've seen pictures of them. I don't know the exact locations. I just know they're on the access to me here. So anybody that drove in here, you've been surveilled.
And the Harney County Superintendent resigned yesterday. Does that have anything to do with siding with y'all?
I am not sure, but it's not interesting that things are changing, that people are resigning and speaking out on our behalf, and others are fighting vehemently to keep us from having access to buildings, to have daylight shed on things. And so I personally believe, from the documents that I have seen, that there is great corruption here. You know, you ought to follow the money. There's great wealth that's locked up. On my ranch, particular in Arizona, the greatest mineral wealth in the world is on that. And so why do they lock that off? And why do they keep those resources from the people and then have access to by others at different times? I don't have specifics that I'll give you, but you ought to really follow the money. That saying holds the water in this case.
Oh boy, one more. Now, what are you planning on doing today?
Well, we are looking at the surveillance that they put up on access here. We are looking at some of the residents have told us about it, and they think that ought to be taken down, that the federal government should be having surveillance here in the county. Those surveillance footages or cameras should be taken down off the access to this property. So that's what we're considering doing, and when we do, we want it in the light of day. And FBI, I'm sure you listen to this, you know, maybe you ought to get your tail out there and take them down before we get there, so it's no issue. But
where you flew to them? Right there.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, that's not okay, and that's not what's called freedom. Having the surveillance state that takes place at all levels, and you all know about that. So. We're hoping to get the facility put in place Monday. This needs to happen quickly. We don't want things to lag. We want things to move quickly. So,
Mark, gotcha. You did it well. I just didn't.
So you're locals requesting it, and they're being denied access to their own building.
Right.
It's not us calling shots, locals calling shots.
Yeah, the Committee of Safety is trying to get, the committee, Harney County residents, the Committee of Safety is trying to get access to their own public buildings for this committee, for this meeting. They're being denied by Judge Grasty. Again, that's not okay. Let's have open dialogue. Let's have some clarity with what's going on here. This is going to take a process. This is not just a
one night and we get every answer. We're working hard and things are moving. But we need to have openness and transparency.
Is there anything at this meeting that Mr. Bundy or those that they were able to tell people that they haven't already said about their exit strategy and their demand for?
I know that he's working hard to put it in a PowerPoint presentation so it's clear and precise, so that we can have a meeting of the mind. And I can look forward to seeing some stuff.
Sure, I have a quick question.
Sure.
We interviewed a lot of people in Harney County, and a lot of times they're being not verbally supported.
That's true.
And we've interviewed about 40 different people. I would say over half of them are saying they can't talk.
Can we hear this, what is just being said here?
Sir.
Is RTTV?
Say it louder, please. Okay. We interviewed about 40 or 50 people in Harney County, and none of them have been on the record. They were all off the record saying that being intimidated to not verbally, publicly support the cause. And that this is the first time that they've ever put forward.
Well, let's look at the packets when we opened the fence. The FBI and BLM and law enforcement was there before we got there, putting pressure upon them. They call and say, well, man, we didn't expect, man, this is a lot of intensity. You know, where you say, hang strong, be strong. And they say, we are, but we're not used to this. So there's a concrete example of this, just not broad brushes, but that's a narrow stroke. That's an individual family. So yes, it's true. Federal government, go home, take care of federal things, secure our borders, protect our nations, keep commerce regular, and just a couple other things. Get the heck out of Dodge and leave the rest for the state and the counties to take care of. Let the people be free. It's high time, dadgummit. Get out of town. So, anyway, before I get too hot, I gotta get out of here. So.
Yeah, no, it's a good kind of hot.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We've been occupying here for 16 days. The Hammonds have been in prison for 14. That is way too long. This is not just a little occupation. This is a movement that's taking place across our country. And I want you to know that this Friday at 4 p.m. here on site, we're holding the signing ceremony. We have ranchers that have committed here in Harney County, and ranchers from New Mexico, and we're hoping that the ones in Utah will make it too, that are traveling here to have a signing ceremony and throw off the overlordship of the federal government. There's been some great articles that have come out here. I've only got to look at a couple of them, but like Joe Heim, Washington Post, I thought he did a fairly good job in an article that he gave out. Pretty fair representation. Now, I texted Max and Joe, I appreciate it, but there's one correction. There was says the anti-government, and I hear that's in a lot of articles, the anti-government people. But I'm calling this out here. We are not anti-government. We're not anti-federal government. I believe in the federal government. We believe in the federal government. We need the federal government. The federal government has some very specific responsibilities, such as keeping our borders secure, defending our nation, keeping commerce regular, and just a few other narrowly defined things. So I'm going to say that again. We are not anti-government. I also want to reach out to the Native Americans. I grew up on the Navajo Reservation, a little place called Page, Arizona. From a child till I left high school, I was on the reservation. And I'm very aware of what the federal government has done with the Native people and the tribes. The BIA rules over that res in lots of ways, through either money or control. But the BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs, you know, the tribes need to be free. The Native American people need to be free. And so we're reaching out to have a liaison between us and the Paiute people here. If they have concerns, we would like to invite them to come and visit with us. And this contest is just beginning, but we will not stop. We will not back down. We will not be deterred. Make it known clearly. These buildings are very symbolic. They're a bunch of rock buildings 35 miles away from nowhere, but they're symbolic. We're holding this. It's been the federal government's fortress, their castle, and we're holding it. We shall not give it up to them ever. It returns to Harney County when it goes back. So make that clear.
Hey guys, this is Jason Manteno with Oath Keepers Media here. I'm here at the Maller Refuge with the Citizens for Constitutional Freedom, here with my friend Finicum Lavoy, and Lavoy Finicum.
Lavoy Finicum, absolutely.
Yep. I'm here with Lavoy Finicum, who, as you know, I've interviewed before, and he's really taken a stand with the BLM with his own ranch. And now I was very pleased to see that he's here amongst our fellow patriots that are out here taking a stand against the BLM. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me.
Oh, absolutely, Jason. It's an honor to meet you in person. I enjoyed visiting with you, but now I get to meet you in person.
And that's what's great about these operations is, you build these relationships online, and then when it's time to do some real work, the real men get out there and women, and they get out there and do that work. So it's good to meet those people when you can. So tell us why you're here. What made you decide to leave your ranch, come out here to Burns, or outside of Burns, Oregon, and do what you're doing?
Well, let me tell you, I hadn't planned on being here, but this will be very clear what brought me here. It was the atrocities that are being perpetrated upon the Hammond family, where he and his son, 75 years old, and he and his son, Dwight and Steve, are now thrown back into prison a second time for the same offense, and for a fire of 140 acres of brush.
Right.
And which happened 11 years ago, by the way.
Right. And this is, you and I, you're from, not Nevada, you're across the line, right? Arizona, but very close to the Bundy Ranch.
Yeah.
And me being up in Montana and cow country up there, these types of burns happen. I run past burns happening really on a weekly basis up there, whether it's, part of the forest burns or part of, just ranch land burns.
Yeah, prescribed burns has always been part of land management. The federal government does it all the time. Private individuals do it on their private land with these big areas. It's a way for maintenance of the land to help burn off unproductive brush there's no feed, to drive the nutrients back into the soil so that there's more feed for wildlife and cattle alike.
Absolutely. Now, this case is a little different than we saw with, say, the Bundys or than yourself, where we had private land happening. There's this, and there was a court case. They were found guilty by a jury of their peers, supposedly. Now, there's some real questions with that, though, and I want to address that because
I don't think it was a jury. It was just a court ruling.
Just a court ruling, okay.
Not a jury of their peers.
So, but they were found guilty, but there's some serious questions around that, in that there was evidence now that's coming up that was the prosecution.
You're referring to the Hammonds. I thought you were referring to Cliven. Yes, it was a jury of their peers, and they were found guilty, correct. And yes, there are some real serious questions coming to light where this needs to be relooked at. That's part of that redress of grievances. Why, and that is where Ammon has taken and exhausted over a long period of time trying to get the officials to, the judges, the county commissioners, and others to reconvene just an evidentiary hearing to relook at these new things that have come to light.
Right.
Petitions with tens of thousands of names on them. They completely ignored that large of a response just to say, oh, they're all crazies. So that is what the judge said of these people here in this area and other places that had the concerns and signed that petition. They're just crazies.
Right, and that's kind of how they try to label the entire movement. A lot of times we've seen that, but that's far from the case. Everybody involved seems to be very level-headed, very calm, very intelligent people to begin with. And you're right, Ammon has done an exhaustive study. For you people who want to go check that out, it's at bundyranch.blogspot. I'll put the link into the notes at the bottom of this video. But please check that out. It really is an important part of this case. So a lot of people also are a little concerned that you guys have occupied these buildings here. And I gotta say, at first when I heard about it, I thought it may not have been the wisest decision just because of the timing with what was happening with gun legislation with Obama. It seemed like a good, gift wrap gift. And but I gotta tell you, being here, experiencing the people that are out here and the atmosphere, my mind is changing a bit. And I got to say that, it feels more like the occupation of a dean's office, something you see out at a campus.
Right.
And how many people in the administration right now have been part of those types of political activism?
I think a few might have.
Yeah.
Don't know specifically.
So let's talk about that. And yes, there are guns here. There's Second Amendments being exercised. But I think it's important to note that as a whole, the liberty movement, since Bundy Ranch on, and you'll recall at Bundy Ranch, it first started off without any guns.
Exactly.
They started off, I remember that.
I never had one there.
Yeah. Pulling up his shirt saying, hey guys, I left my guns at home. I don't even have a pocket knife. And that was the day that they sucked the attack dogs on them.
And tased.
Yeah, exactly. The next day, the guns came out and it changed the dynamic. And people were treated with respect. People were treated like human beings.
Well, there's an old saying, I thought it came from the old country of France, where it says one sword tends to keep another sword in its sheath. And that's exactly where all of the guns should be, is holstered in their sheaths, and we should all be neighborly, kind, and friendly.
Absolutely. And I want to really point out, folks, I've been to every operation that Oath Keepers has been a part of. Now, this is not an Oath Keepers operation, but it's an important part of the Liberty Movement, which is why I'm here. From every operation I've been to, not one bullet has flown, not one drop of blood has spilled. That every one of these operations has been done, with grown men and women acting responsibly.
Yeah. I hope that it always continues to be that way. But regardless, we stand, for freedom. We stand peacefully, but we stand firmly.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the decision-making process went into the occupation here?
I can. For myself, I came here because the trustees, the Hammond family was going to come and put some flowers on the doorstep and then go home. And as I was traveling up here, I think Cliven had called just to check on me, see how I was doing with my own issues with the BLM. And I told him that I was going to go up and support the Hammonds. He said, well, maybe there can be some carpooling. And so his son, Ryan, met me, and he hopped in my truck, and we tooled on up here, and we expected to be back the very next day. Ryan didn't. I think he had one change of clothes. I had a couple extra change of clothes, but that's the way it went down. We found out it just prior to the march. In other words, when we got ready to, just about an hour, 45 minutes before the march, we were pulled into a meeting wherein the Ammon listed all the avenues that he had exhausted over an extensive period of time to get redress for the Hammonds, and how they had been flatly ignored, not responded to. And then he said, if we allow this to stand, this shall become the new normal for American citizens. It is time to do more than just to allow these things to go on and to have good people to be terrorized as they have been, and now in prison, not once again, but twice. And this is just unacceptable. And so he says we need to act. And at that point, he laid out the plan that we should come out here and occupy. And so what happened was, just before the march, about 45 minutes before it, we pulled into Burns, me and Ryan, just prior to the march, probably about maybe 2 hours or hour and a half before the march. And so he called us inside with a meeting. There's locals there. I met them, and there was us and a few other people that had come to support. And where he then, again, as I said, laid out his case of every avenue that had been exhausted and flatly ignored and refused to be even responded to in any manner. He says we cannot allow this to stand. And thereon he says, I feel from my heart we should come over here and occupy this Malheur Wildlife Refuge. And so I raised my hand and said, Ammon, are you telling me that, all these years we've been trying to draw a defensive line, getting pressed here, stepping back, pressed here, stepping back, and we keep losing ground. He says, are you now saying that this is a peaceful step forward to reclaim? He says, yes, I am. I said, well, that's what I thought you meant. And he says, who will go with me? And there's actually a county deputy in the room, and there was several people. This is we appreciate what you're doing, but this is just one bridge too far for us. And they excused themselves. And at what point Ammon went and did the support march,
right?
And me and Ryan and a handful of other people. I was the last car. There was about a caravan of 4, maybe 5 vehicles that came here. I think it's 4 in a trailer, something like that. Not very many, just a handful of us. And so we're tooling. I'm actually the only one in my truck. And actually it was a rental car because my truck had broke down. so I'm tooling out here, and as I'm coming out, you do a lot of thinking, because have you ever heard the term crossing the Rubicon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it means that when you cross Rubicon, when Caesar crossed the Rubicon, that means there's no turning back.
Right.
And so, anyway, I'm driving out at the very last vehicle, and I'm saying, I haven't crossed the Rubicon yet, but I'm getting close to it. Is this really, and so, I said, I'm with you, Ammon, when he said he was with me, and, we actually knelt down and prayed, and we come out, but you got a lot of time. It's like almost 45 minutes, an hour out here, so a lot of time to think about that as we're traveling out. And anyway, because there's no going back.
Right.
There's no go back. And as I'm traveling out, I want to share this experience with you. That it's big flat, so your readers or your viewers understand it's just snow and big old flat, and the road's kind of raised, and there's fence posts along the side on both sides. And up ahead, there's this big, beautiful bald eagle just sitting on the post watching us come. And as we go by, and the last time we go by, he lifts off and flies. And I go, it's okay. This is for freedom. Freedom is worth everything.
It's amazing you say that story, because as we were coming in convoy yesterday, I was in bed with 3%ers and the guys coming out here. As we were driving up, not before this turn here, but over, literally the same thing happened where there was an eagle, and we made mention over the radios how, there's this bald eagle and seems to be a good sign for freedom.
Well, this to me is deeply personal and spiritual to me, because I believe that God intends for all His children to live free. I believe that. And there's no way that what has happened to the Hammonds is freedom. And the reason that has happened is because we have allowed such a centralization of power without accountability of the people. And so, if it had not been for that, I would not be here, sitting here in the now newly renamed Harney County Resource Center. And so, I am. And we've laid everything on the line. All that we have, is in jeopardy, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. What matters is you try to do what's right and just let the chips fall where they may. That's what you do.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk with us. Is there anything else you want to add before we let you go?
No. One thing I want to say, because sometimes they get a bad rap, is the militia. And, they came out with tacked out and stuff, but they travel that way in a protective detail.
Right.
And that's understandable. But the media loves to eat it up. But that's who they are. And from a distance, we have felt the support of them saying to the federal government, just leave them alone.
Right.
They're not hurting anybody. They're 35 miles from the nearest place. They're out in the middle of a snow patch. They're not threatening anybody. Just leave them alone. Don't do crazy. Leave them alone. And I think they feel that. And I understood when the news media person told me today that indeed they were going to unoccupy that school and let the kids go back to school today. The federal agents that occupied that and made a fortress out of the school they're the ones that instill fear in the community, coming and setting up like a armed camp, and then lying to us as, oh, we had to close it down because the families were scared. They closed it down so that they could use it as a staging place for a military operation.
Yeah.
What liars? What's liars? We don't need to escalate things like this.
Well, it's illegal for me and you to lie to them. We get in trouble for that, but there's no laws for them to.
There's a double standard. It's time that the federal government be held to. We should be equal under the law. For example, you talk about equal under the law. The Hammonds set a backfire to save more land, a backfire to stop another fire.
And they actually did. They saved it.
They did. And they are charged as a terrorist and go to prison, twice. Where I'm from, Kaibab Mountain, there's what's called the Warren Fire. Just, the last big fire out there not that long ago, where it was a controlled burn by who? The federal government. It gets out of hand. Burns thousands and thousands of prime timber. Did anybody go to jail? Did anybody even lose their job?
No.
So we live under two sets of standards. We are not equal under the law. We have the federal class that protects their own. And then we have us, thus the lower class.
Sure. And then the state employees too. I think there seems to be
a hierarchy.
You're either part of the system or you're not. And
where does the privileged class actually receive their monies from? It's from the working class.
They do.
And
it's a false economy. It really is.
It is, and we all understand that. But this is just such an egregious example. How could we have done anything less? Ammon exhausted every avenue. There was no other recourse to take but to peacefully stand up and take this, to make the statement, to try to get redress for the Hammonds and for other purposes of freedom too.
Well, folks, I want to make it very clear that we talk a lot about the background to this story and the research that's gone into it and all that background information. And I want to challenge each and every one of you to go out there I'm going to include links in my articles and in this video to these different references, these information piles, if you will, that back up everything we're saying. And I want to challenge you to go through it, read it, and understand the backstory that we're talking about here, and really across the board in these western states with each one of these egregious happenings, whether it's a guy in Montana or Wyoming with putting a pond in his backyard and being prosecuted as a terrorist there, to the Hammonds, to the Bundys. The information's there, folks, and we need to really bone up on that information and be able to speak intelligently about it. So please take the time, go out there and take the time to read up.
I hope I'm not sure if I completely finished my thought about those that showed up, the militia that showed up and came down and talked to us. Again, I just really want to put out a thank you, because from a distance they make us feel safe here, and they don't have to be here on site, but from a distance we feel their support. And so again, to all of the Americans that have prayed for us, and even though they may not have agreed or not quite understand, but we felt their prayers, we have heard and listened to their support and stuff, and we are not stopping. We're not going to back down. We will not, as Ammon say, we will leave not a minute too soon. Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Awesome.
What do you think of the fact that it's gotten to a point where public meetings are being canceled?
Well, he canceled it. We should have as much dialogue and openness as possible. Have you felt the change in the tone and tenor of the feds out there? We certainly have. We used to could walk up to them and talk with the FBI agents in a friendly manner, unarmed and stuff, but the tenor has changed. They have become more hardened, and when they step out of their vehicles, now they're stepping out with their rifles, and they're not willing to engage in just friendly dialogue. And then I'm assuming that you're aware of all the extra vehicles that they're bringing in and the increase in manpower that they're ramping up. And we're saying, why the rattling of the saber? Why, when we're so far away from anybody, out here in the middle of nowhere, why are you ramping it up? Why do you fly your planes over nonstop? And why do you have your drones? Because they're droning this now. And they're actually flying their photographer planes. They're doing all the things. They're doing all the things that shows that they want to take some kinetic action against us. And we're saying, why be so unfriendly? Why be so threatening? Why are you threatening lethal force when we're so far away?
You really feel like they're ramping it up, that they're going to take some sort of, you said kinetic, like physical action?
All the behaviors is in the preparation of a campaign of some sort. And whether it's just a saber rattling to try to intimidate, or whether they actually mean it, we don't know. All we know is what we see. And so what you're also seeing is that's why you're seeing the uptick in the saber rattling from the feds, because they do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them. Why be so unfriendly? Why be so threatening? Why are you threatening lethal force when we're so far away?